Kia ora, Nick, and welcome to my final domain reflection. I'm just going to get straight into it. For domain 3, my first goal was by the 24th of August, I will have critically examined the literature on the impacts of having blindness or low vision on the following subjects: sensory, cognitive, motor, communication, literacy, and social skills. The artifacts I've created are a co-constructed Google slide with Chloe and Hera. I've got a forum response in there applying to motor development, and then I've also done a literature review on sensory development and the implications for blind and low vision. This is actually my favourite topic so far that I've come across. I'm really interested in how sensory, motor and cognitive development relates to kids with CVI. So I probably got a bit carried away with this, and also it's quite a large topic in itself. So when I said to Chloe and Hera, hey, I'll do the sensory one, it was like, whoa, covering all the senses. So I spent quite a lot of time on that, which was a bit silly, but then at the same time, it's my favourite thing. So, hey, that's okay. Anyway, I'll briefly tell you what I learnt, because I want to have a maximum of 15 minutes for this reflection for the whole domain. What was really interesting was that in terms of hearing, people often confirm with their vision what they hear. So for someone that has low vision or blindness, it's really important that you pair tactile and hearing activities together. Hold on a second. Yeah, that's right. So it says, for learners with visual impairment, it's therefore important that auditory language is paired with touch, actions, and objects, and that's from Barclay 2011. And then a similar kind of conclusion was come through the impacts of vision impairment on the visual part of the system, because we use 80% of our vision for learning, so that's a significant deficit for children with vision impairment. My main takeaway learning from that is that they must receive sufficient auditory, kinesthetic and tactile stimulation within their environments to support concept development. And it just confirms what I'm already doing in the preschool section at Blends. Like everything, it's pretty much, I look at the book by Pagliano and also Jean Ayres on sensory integration, so making sure that there's a variety of senses included in each activity, that the stimulation needs to be paired. It can't just be vision, because the child's not going to take in enough information to really layer up the concepts and the development. I'll just briefly touch on the other two. Oh yeah, this was really interesting. I hadn't really heard of a Somato system before, but actually that's a combination of touch, body sense, so proprioception, heat and cold and pain. But the main thing I took away from this information was that the way the somatic system is mapped out in the brain is most of the senses are actually in people's mouths, tongue, hands and fingertips. So that's where we have most of our sensory receptors and the most information. It's the parts of the body that are able to get the most information. So that makes sense to me. Like, that's why babies are mouthing cups, or kids with complex needs might be licking iPads. Like, they're actually trying to get information, because that's how they get the most clusters of sensory receptors are in those areas. So in terms of tactile defensiveness with children in my early childhood group, the area with the least amount of receptors is actually the stomach and the back. So it might be, if a child's got a phobia of doesn't really like sensations or things touching them, it might be that you start with an object in the area of the stomach or the back and then slowly move to the more sensitive areas of the body, and it's wonderful that a lot of the receptors are on the fingertips, because then that supports the tactile discrimination for the children that are learning braille. So I think this is the type of specific information that's important. This is all going to impact my practice. The main thing is that I just keep this information is evolving, because there's always research being done about it. And just, I keep it fresh in my brain, because I love passing on these facts to parents and kids that I work with. It's like, for me, the why is really important, and when I'm able to share the why with the family, then it's like, light bulb moments happen. And I guess as well, for me, I feel like I have more mana, but also more credibility with my practice. So I guess I've kind of touched on, hold on a second, what's that next one? Oh, the vestibular section. Now, I know that this is really important. We did a PD session at work on it, but unfortunately I was with Patrick doing an FVA. So, yeah, I found it quite hard to find papers on the vestibular section, so I ended up just kind of going back to this really awesome book on sensory integration by Bundy Lane and Murray, which is where I got most of my information for the sensory part, about the vestibular system, how it's located in the inner ear, and it's our balance system. So it's always providing feedback to the motor system, which is also linked to the visual system. And I was really fascinated to find out that nystagmus is actually a vestibular system issue, and I'm quite interested to find out if there's any further research about a vestibular program that would support nystagmus. Right, I think that's probably enough reflecting on this one, because I've kind of only got about 7 minutes left to do the rest of them. Okay, let's flick back through here. So I also did a forum response on motor. That was quite good, because it enabled me to understand the way the body develops. So it goes from the head down, from the inside out. Oh, I can't remember the other three. But anyway, even just those facts alone, I've already been able to share at the preschool why I've set up some of the equipment the way I have, because a lot of the children there are just in the area of learning how to support their own head, their neck and their shoulders, and obviously all the parents want them to learn how to walk. And Mum was like, oh, why aren't we doing walking activities? And I was able to say, well, because of the way the body develops, the motor system, it starts from the head up. So it's like, first we've got to be, using the head, the shoulders, the arms, and then, the core, and, those things will follow on. So that was quite good. My literature review is actually quite similar to the slideshow that we made. I used some of the information there, but it's maybe got a few more in-depth quotes. Like I say, I really enjoyed learning about those systems. Let's go down to goal 2. So, goal 2, by the 24th of August, I will have created a video demonstrating cultural educational strategies to support learning for children with a Pacific Island ethnicity. Also, I've forgotten to add in there, but I will after this video, is that I've also done a link to a forum post that I've done about embedding early Māori concepts into cognitive development. So I'll just briefly talk about this video first. So this was important to me to... The reason I did this was because I am Māori, so I do have a background and understanding about how those educational strategies work, and I wanted to have a little bit more of understanding around the Pacific Island. And for me, drawing helps me absorb it into my brain, and it was really interesting doing some of the readings on the concepts of va, which is like relationships to everything, which we also have that in Māori culture. And I guess overall, what the implications were is actually the teaching strategies that I saw were actually just good teaching strategies. They weren't necessarily just for Pacific Island students. Like, I think most people enjoy collaboration, discussion, kinesthetic activities, relating it to the family, having clear expectations, having visible learning so you know exactly where you are, how you're progressing, what's your next step. Like, to me, and also expectations. Like, my granddad was the one who said to me, "You're going to university," when I was 13. So if he didn't say that, maybe I wouldn't be here and in this way. So I think they're just good learning strategies. And some of the readings I also did find, I wish I had more time, because I'd actually love to do quite a big topic on kapo Māori, and I was thinking about interviewing a family member who is blind and low vision, and I just wish I had more time. But yeah, I can see that people who have a vision impairment and also from another culture apart from, say, Western culture, it's almost like they have a double disability, because first of all, it's like the cultural inclusion is not happening, and then the low vision inclusion may not be happening. So I also just love the way that Māori people don't really have a word for impairment, or like a negative they don't have really a word in their language for disability. I just love that. It's like it's just part of being. It's not a comparative thing that people, I'm Western as well, that Western people seem to have. So I wish I had more time to do that subject justice, but for this particular domain, I just really went into the sensory aspect, and that's just what I seem to do, is kind of go into one. But maybe that's something I could talk to you about, that I could maybe not go as deep into some areas. Okay, so then my final goal was that I would have created a diagram that illustrates the key points in Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory. I'll make a second video showing the impacts of low vision on this theory. So I chose to make a video of my two diagrams to visually illustrate the key relationships of Bronfenbrenner's discussion, and I chose to do this because the ecological theory is really important in the Blends curriculum document. We say that the parent is the first teacher. Pretty much most of the documentation talks about learning being a active socio-cultural theory, which is what Bronfenbrenner's theory talks about. So it was really interesting to me to find out about the different, this has come up. So it was really interesting for me to find out about the 4 different areas within Bronfenbrenner's theory. He talks about the microsystem, the mesosystem, the exosystem, and finally the one around the outside that you have the least amount of control over. So his theory says that from a social cultural point of view, the most development and learning happens from the child within the microsystem. So they start in the middle and then they move outwards, and as it goes outwards, it can also affect learning development, but the things right in the middle is where most of the learning is going to happen. And from my personal point of view, that's what I also believe. Like, the most things I learn are from my family, and then then it's your peers and also your schooling. So I really loved drawing and learning about this. It was quite interesting when I did the second video, and then I broke down how we can actually affect those different areas, which was quite helpful, because it kind of dawned on me that, in terms of the school, most teachers can control the environment, and the environment is a big part of our job, adapting that environment to support our learners to increase access to their curriculum. So what I realised while I was doing this was that it's so important to have a collaborative, the relationship is really important within the school and the family, so that you're able to make those accessible changes. This is very important learning for what I'm currently doing within my practice. I'm sorry, I'm running out of time. I've only got 20 seconds left for this video, so I'll pretty much leave it there. I've really enjoyed learning about this topic, particularly the sensory, and I'm really looking forward to particularly CVI and the complex needs area too. So thanks for watching.